That cold October night in 1987, what happened at Garden Lodge would change rock history forever. Freddie Mercury had just returned from the doctor, clutching test results that transformed him from a world-famous rock god into a man battling a deadly disease. When Mary Austin knocked on Freddie's door that evening, she couldn't find the man she knew, only a fragile soul trying to cope with the storm inside. But Freddie's first reaction was the kind nobody expected, and the truth Mary confessed 30 years later would shock everyone. If you want to hear this story to the end, please don't forget to subscribe, because the details Mary Austin revealed in her exclusive 2017 interview will change everything you thought you knew about Freddie Mercury. The last week of October 1987, a thick layer of fog hung over London. The large windows of Garden Lodge filtered the streetlight outside into blurry halos. When Freddie Mercury returned home from the private clinic on Harley Street, the papers in the envelope he clutched now determined his fate. HIV positive, AIDS. In 1987, those words meant a certain death sentence. Mary Austin hadn't planned to visit Freddie that evening, but the phone call she received that afternoon would open the path to the longest night of her life. Freddie's voice on the phone was so different that Mary couldn't recognize him at first. "Please come," he had said simply. There was no anger or sadness in his voice, just deep exhaustion. Mary couldn't know then that Freddie's exhaustion wasn't just from the news of his illness, but from his secret fears finally becoming reality after years of carrying them. When she opened the door to Garden Lodge, the scene Mary encountered deeply shook her. Freddie, a man known even then for his extraordinary fashion sense, was wearing simple pajamas and a robe. But what was truly surprising was the expression on his face. Mary had seen every mood Freddie could have over the years: his pre-show excitement, his post-concert anger, his heartbreaks, his success highs. But the expression she saw that night was completely different. There was a strange peace on Freddie's face, as if news he had been waiting for a long time had finally arrived. Quoting to Mary Austin in her 2017 BBC interview, when Freddie showed her the test results that night, he said something surprising. "Finally, now I know." These words shocked Mary so much that she thought Freddie was in shock. But when Freddie continued, the truth became even more complex. "I've been waiting for this moment for years, Mary. Now at least I know what I'm fighting against." The truth behind this strange relief reaction revealed the secret fear Freddie had been living with since 1985. The reason for his panic attack backstage during the Live Aid concert wasn't just performance anxiety. Freddie had started noticing strange symptoms in his body during that period, but hadn't dared to get tested, because in the mid-1980s, AIDS wasn't just a deadly disease, it was also a social stigma, especially for a bisexual rock star. According to Mary Austin's recollection, Freddie confessed something very personal to her that night. Since 1985, every morning when he looked in the mirror, he would examine his body and look for AIDS symptoms. This secret fear had consumed him so much that even when he was singing, a corner of his mind was always preoccupied with health anxiety. When the test result came back positive, he felt a strange relief because the uncertainty was over. But the real drama was just beginning. What happened after Freddie received his AIDS diagnosis wasn't just a personal tragedy. The plan he told Mary Austin about that night would deeply affect Queen's future and rock history. Freddie hadn't just developed a simple strategy to hide his illness. He had planned a complete lifestyle change. The most shocking detail, Mary Austin confessed 30 years later, was Freddie's decision to hide his illness not just for himself but for the Queen band as well. In the conversation that took place at Garden Lodge that night, Freddie presented Mary with a very clear plan. Only his doctor Mary and his close companion Jim Hutton would know about the illness. No one would learn this truth, including Brian May, Roger Taylor, and John Deacon. Behind this decision wasn't just respect for privacy. Freddie was thinking much more strategically. In 1987, a musician diagnosed with AIDS could see his career end instantly. Record companies, concert organizers, and even band members might not know how to react in such a situation. Freddie didn't want to take this risk because he still had so much to say. According to Mary Austin's recollection, Freddie told her that night, "I want to prove that my music is stronger than my illness. If everyone thinks I'm dying, my songs will die with me." These words affected Mary so much that she continued to keep this secret even after Freddie's death. But Freddie's plan wasn't just about secrecy. That night, Freddie told Mary something even more surprising. surprising. After receiving his AIDS diagnosis, he wanted to dedicate the remainder of his life to music as intensively as possible. "Maybe I'll write my best songs now," he had told Mary, "because now I know my time is limited." One of the most touching details Mary Austin told in her 2017 interview was the burst of creativity Freddie experienced after receiving the news of his illness. That night at Garden Lodge, when Freddie talked about his future projects with Mary, that old light appeared in his eyes again. The AIDS diagnosis hadn't destroyed him. Instead, it had made him even more determined. Freddie's decision that night wasn't just to hide his illness. He also wanted to use his remaining time most efficiently. According to Mary Austin's recollection, Freddie told her that night, "Death doesn't scare me, Mary. What scares me is dying without writing enough songs." These words reveal the secret reason behind Freddie's incredible productivity in the post-1987 period. The Miracle album, the Innuendo album, and finally, the Made in Heaven project. All were works Freddie wrote after receiving his AIDS diagnosis. According to Mary Austin, when Freddie was writing these albums, it was as if he was racing against time. Every song was his own formula for immortality. But this burst of creativity required a great price. The methods Freddie developed to hide his illness began to challenge him, not only physically, but also psychologically. According to Mary Austin's recollection, from 1988 onwards, there were details Freddie paid attention to during his home visits. Freddie was now always wearing makeup, choosing clothes that would hide the weakening parts of his body. One of the most painful details, Mary Austin confessed 30 years later, was the secret precautions Freddie took in his daily life. During evenings spent at Garden Lodge, Freddie would tell Mary about the progression of his illness, but he had turned even this into a kind of performance. It was as if he was trying to be the director of his own drama. By 1989, Freddie's physical condition had begun to deteriorate further, but he was still making great efforts to ensure no one noticed. According to Mary Austin's recollection, Freddie was now controlling his voice even when talking on the phone, because the infections caused by AIDS had begun to affect his vocal cords as well. The most striking thing Freddie told Mary during this period was, "Everyone will wonder how I died, but I want to be remembered for how I lived." These words showed that Freddie's struggle with the disease had not only a medical dimension, but also an artistic one. But something changed. According to Mary Austin, at the beginning of 1990, there was a significant change in Freddie's behavior. He was now thinking more about the legacy he would leave behind, rather than hiding his illness. The reason for this change wasn't just the deterioration of his physical condition, but also the changes happening in the music industry regarding AIDS. By 1990, AIDS had become a topic that was being discussed in the music industry. Elton John's contributions to AIDS funds, David Bowie's statements on the issue, and other artists showing sensitivity had reassured Freddie. According to Mary Austin's recollection, Freddie said during that period, "Maybe it's time to tell the truth now." But Freddie's decision to tell the truth wasn't just a personal choice. It was also a strategic move for Queen's future. Freddie wanted to both control his own story and protect Queen's musical legacy by revealing his illness. One of the most important details Mary Austin told in her 2017 interview was the content of the secret plan Freddie prepared in 1990. Freddie had carefully planned not only to reveal his illness, but also the timing of this revelation. His goal was to both protect his own dignity and create social awareness about AIDS. One of Mary Austin's most unforgettable memories was what happened at Garden Lodge the night The Show Must Go On was written. When Freddie read the lyrics of the song to Mary that evening, he told her it felt like he was writing his own funeral speech. "This song isn't for me. It's to ease the pain of those who love me," Freddie had said. So the emotional intensity experienced during the writing of this song deeply affected Mary Austin. Freddie was now at peace with death, but he was also thinking about the pain of the people he would leave behind. According to Mary, the songs Freddie wrote in his final period weren't just personal expressions, but also consolation letters he left for his loved ones. But the biggest secret still hadn't been revealed. The biggest secret Mary Austin kept for 30 years was how how Freddie determined the timing of revealing his illness. Behind this decision wasn't just personal preparation, but a much more complex strategy. Years after Mary Austin's revelations, when Jim Hutton's private diary notes were found in 2010, it became clear that only part of the night Freddie received his AIDS diagnosis was known. Jim Hutton didn't yet hold an important place in Freddie's life at that time, but what he saw from the kitchen window of Garden Lodge contained striking details that supported what Mary Austin had told. According to what Jim wrote in his diary, Mary and Freddie weren't alone at Garden Lodge that night. Dr. Gordon Atkinson, Freddie's private doctor, was also at the house and left late. The most striking detail Jim Hutton remembered about that night was the thick envelope Atkinson gave Freddie when he left. This envelope contained not only medicine prescriptions, but also instructions needed to track the course of the disease. The most shocking truth we learned from Jim Hutton's diary was that Freddie suspected his illness even before receiving his AIDS diagnosis. From the end of 1986 onwards, Freddie was secretly taking notes about the changes he noticed in his body. Weight loss, night sweats, constant fatigue, all were early symptoms of AIDS, but Freddie wasn't sharing these with anyone. But the biggest secret was related to Freddie continuing his musical productivity, even during the period when he suspected the illness. According to Jim Hutton's diary records, Freddie had written "Who Wants to Live Forever" in early 1987, even before receiving a definitive diagnosis. The lyrics of this song reflected the inner world where Freddie was confronting his fear of death. According to Jim, when Freddie was writing this song, it was as if he was foreseeing his own future. The truth Brian May confessed in a 2018 interview showed how successfully Freddie had hidden his illness. According to Brian, there were changes they noticed in Freddie's behavior between 1987 and 1988, but they attributed these to age and fatigue. Freddie was now going straight home after studio sessions, not partying like he used to. According to Roger Taylor's recollection, during the period when they recorded the Miracle album in 1988, Freddie's vocal techniques had changed. He was now using less powerful notes, narrowing his vocal range, but they interpreted this as a musical choice, not relating it to health problems. John Deacon had noticed Freddie's changing eating habits. Freddie was now eating very little in the studio, constantly taking vitamin pills. But since healthy living trends were popular in the late 1980s, they considered these behaviors normal too. The most painful truth that emerged in Mary Austin's final 2019 interview was the guilt Freddie felt about his illness. Freddie was worried not only about his own health, but also about the possibility of having transmitted the disease to people he had relationships with in the past. This anxiety had consumed him so much that in 1988 he hired a private research company to secretly monitor the health conditions of his former partners. One of the events that Mary Austin never mentioned, but appeared in detail in Jim Hutton's diary, was David Bowie's secret visit to Garden Lodge in 1989. This visit was kept completely secret from the media, and only Freddie's closest circle was aware of this meeting. According to Jim Hutton's records, David Bowie had a long conversation with Freddie about AIDS that night. Bowie had made suggestions to Freddie about how the AIDS issue should be handled in the music industry. The most striking part of this conversation was Bowie's words to Freddie that telling the truth requires artistic courage. After this meeting, there were significant changes in Freddie's musical approach. The songs on the Innuendo album carried a depth and maturity we had never encountered before. According to Jim Hutton, the conversation with Bowie had accelerated Freddie's process of transforming his illness into artistic expression. Details in Elton John's 2015 autobiography revealed the existence of a previously unknown support network during Freddie's illness process. Elton John had taken an active role in Freddie's treatment process from 1989 onwards and helped him communicate with the best AIDS specialists. According to Elton John's recollection, Freddie hadn't lost hope even in the final stages of his illness. He was researching new treatment methods, gathering information about experimental drugs in America. During this period, Freddie's biggest motivation was to complete Queen's final album. Details Rod Stewart told in his 2012 interview showed the dimensions of the secret solidarity experienced in the music industry regarding AIDS. According to Stewart, in the late 1980s, there was a secret information-sharing network about AIDS among rock musicians. Freddie was also an active member of this network and shared his experiences with his illness with other musicians. The most important purpose of this secret network was to enable musicians diagnosed diagnosed with AIDS to continue their careers. Freddie played a pioneering role in this matter and shared his strategies for hiding the illness with others. But in 1990, this secret world would completely change. Magic Johnson's announcement in 1991 that he was HIV positive deeply affected Freddie Mercury's world. According to Mary Austin's recollection, after watching Magic Johnson's press conference, Freddie told her that night, "I think the time has come now. If a basketball player can do this, a rock star can too." Magic Johnson's announcement had caused significant changes in social perception regarding AIDS. The disease was no longer seen as a problem affecting only certain groups, but was accepted as a reality that anyone could experience. This change gave Freddie courage to share his own truth. What happened during the recording process of the Made in Heaven album was one of the most touching parts of Freddie's struggle with his illness. According to Jim Hutton's diary records, when Freddie was recording his final songs, he had sometimes become so weak that he couldn't stand in the studio. But when he got in front of the microphone, it was as if all his energy came back. The song Freddie struggled with most during this period was Mother Love. The lyrics of the song reflected Freddie's relationship with his own mother and the emotional complexity he experienced during his illness process. According to Jim Hutton, after recording this song, Freddie cried for hours. One of Mary Austin's least known memories was about the events that occurred a week before Freddie's death. At that time, Freddie was already very weak, but one day he suddenly went to the piano and started playing Bohemian Rhapsody. According to Mary's recollection, at that moment Freddie's voice was as strong as it used to be, and it was as if the illness never existed. This event lasted only a few minutes, but for Mary Austin, it meant seeing Freddie's true spirit for the last time. Freddie told her that day, "Music existed before me and will exist after me. I was just a temporary instrument." The preparation of the statement in which Freddie announced his illness on November 23, 1991, was actually the result of a process that lasted for months. According to Mary Austin's 2020 revelation, Freddie had carefully chosen every word of this statement. His goal wasn't just to tell the truth, but also to create social awareness about AIDS. The first draft of the statement was much longer and detailed Freddie's experiences during his illness process, but Freddie preferred a shorter and more effective text in the final version. "The issue isn't about me, it's about people who will be in the same situation in the future," he had told Mary. The most painful detail Brian May told in his 2019 interview was about the moment they learned of Freddie's illness. Before publishing the statement, Freddie had called the band members to Garden Lodge and told them the truth face to face. According to Brian's recollection, Freddie was surprisingly calm when having this conversation. Roger Taylor remembered that moment like this. "Freddie told us, as if he was talking about the weather. But then he said, 'This won't be our last album.' At that moment we understood that Freddie hadn't given up." John Deacon didn't speak at all that day. He just hugged Freddie for a long time. When all the secrets Mary Austin had kept were revealed, the dimensions of Freddie Mercury's legacy became much clearer. Freddie wasn't just a musical genius, but also a pioneer of social change regarding AIDS. The way and timing of his illness announcement gave courage to countless people in the following years. The Freddie AIDS Foundation became one of the most effective charitable organizations established after his death. This foundation, in which Mary Austin also played an active role, was created based on Freddie's experiences fighting the disease. The foundation's work contributed millions of dollars to AIDS research. During the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, Freddie Mercury's story of fighting AIDS came to the agenda again. Freddie's experiences were taken as examples in fighting disease stigma, creating artistic production during quarantine periods, and living with uncertainty. Mary Austin's words in her final 2021 interview summarized the meaning of Freddie's legacy today. "Freddie always told me music doesn't heal, but it makes pain shareable. During the COVID period, I understood how true these words were." Among Freddie's personal belongings, found during the renovation of Garden Lodge in 2023, unknown letters were discovered. In these letters, Freddie described the spiritual transformation he experienced after receiving his AIDS diagnosis. In one of the most striking letters he wrote, "The illness didn't teach me to die. It taught me to truly live." These final discoveries showed that the secrets Mary Austin had kept for 30 years were just the beginning. Freddie's true legacy was the story of the human spirit's resistance against illness beyond his music. The story that began on that cold October night in 1987, when Freddie Mercury received his AIDS diagnosis, continues today. The secrets Mary Austin Austin courageously shared proved that Freddie wasn't just a rock star, but also a hero who became a beacon of hope during humanity's dark periods. The legacy of this night extends beyond music history. Freddie's way of fighting his illness, combined with his artistic courage, became a timeless source of inspiration. The secret Mary Austin kept was finally complete, and Freddie Mercury's true greatness was revealed in all its nakedness. He was one of those rare people who managed to become legendary, not only with his music, but with every moment he lived.